Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Safar-e-Hifazat web series. Today we are talking about the situation analysis, and this is the sixth episode of our web series. Our journey towards safety has reached the first milestone. With today's episode, we are, as I keep reminding everyone at the beginning of each episode, that Safar-e-Hifazat is a research-based web series that is exploring the importance of imparting life skill-based education to adolescents in order to improve their capabilities to make informed choices about their health, well-being, and safety. This web series is part of the project Safar-e-Hifazat. It's a research-based project that delivered life skill-based education curriculum to both adolescent boys and girls in government schools in Lahore. This is a project of Amplify Change and Nur Foundation. Nur Center for Research and Policy is endowed by the Nur Foundation based in Lahore, Pakistan, and is the technical research arm of Nur Fatma Memorial System. NCRP, as we call it, has multifaceted projects and programs to generate, collate, and disseminate evidence from strengthening policy making and planning as well as reforming practice in the sector of health, education, and integrated community development. Like I said before, today's episode is kind of a situation analysis, and we are very privileged to have global partners with us in today's discussion. We will try to record some best practices in the world, in the countries where life skill based education is being taught in schools. Without any further ado, I will introduce my worthy panelist. We have with us Hannah Kate Haynes. She's the Technical Performance Manager at Amplify Change. We have Masuma Billah. She's the Head of Research and Innovation, Gender and SRHR Expert, RedOrange Media and Communication, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Thank you very much for joining us, Masuma. Masuma is a trained demographer and researcher leading the research and innovation team of Red Orange Media and Communication. It's a Dutch Bangladesh development agency. Well-being of women and girl is the area where she would like to continue to the best of her capacity and ability. Before joining Red Orange, she used to work for Population Council. Welcome, Masuma. We also have with us Maha Rehman. Maha is the development professional with a demonstrated history of working in the non-profit industry in Pakistan as well as Canada. She is skilled in strategy, monitoring and evaluation, as well as project management. She holds board positions at Fatma Memorial Hospital, Lahore, and GoRead.pk, Karachi. She's a senior technical advisor for the project Safar-e-Hifazat. Her sectors of interest include public health, education, and women development. So we have been discussing various aspects of life skill based education. We discussed why it should be part of our curriculum, why we think that it is in the best interest of our youth, our adolescent, if we teach them life skill based education. Today, we are going to put that entire discussion in the context, in the global context, and see which countries have already implemented that and what benefits are they reaping from this. We have, like I said, Masuma with us, so we'll focus on Bangladesh. Masuma, if you allow, have you recorded any benefits of life skill based education? One, first tell us, are you teaching it in schools? Has government owned it up? And if you have, has it been any beneficial to the children? Over to you.
Life skills based education is very well discussed here in Bangladesh as well, but unfortunately, life skill based education is not yet part of any formal education system or curriculum. You know, like now. When life skills based education showed success in different like sporadic area, agencies and the NGOs who are working in Bangladesh in the education, also in life skills, they are like advocating to the government to put it in the formal curriculum, but it is not yet happened. But we found that BRAC, like informal education provided by BRAC and other NGOs, other big NGOs who are working elaborately in education, they are promoting life skill based education, and they are having success that found in their project related documents and project related data. The project name is Balika. This is for basically the project was combating child marriage. They introduced life skill based education within the project. So life skill based education is very well pronounced, well practiced component here in Bangladesh, in the community of the NGO communities using this component, but not in the formal sector. This is the situation here in Bangladesh.
Thank you. My next question is, Hana, which countries have successfully incorporated life skill-based education as part of their school curriculum, and what are some of the benefits recorded in these countries? If you can share with us just a few examples to convince our audience that this is the right way to go.
Thank you. So with regards to which countries have successfully incorporated life skills-based education as part of their school curriculum, you could look at a country like Sri Lanka. They have multiple modalities in place at the moment. So the Ministry of Health launched a reproductive health education program to enhance young people's knowledge on SRH. But there's also a program run by the National Youth Service Council that is aimed specifically for out-of-school young people, which I feel like a lot of programs are lacking. So that's great to see. And they focus a lot on gender equality and empowerment. And as a result, there have been huge kind of increases in understanding of certain areas there, particularly consent and gender expectations, which is great. You have other countries like Malawi, where LSE was introduced originally in 2002 by the Ministry of Education, but didn't come into place a little bit later. But their LSE was fairly comprehensive, and the focus, according to the Ministry of Education, was on empowering learners and teachers, kind of with knowledge, values, attitudes, and skills to effectively deal with the social and health challenges and pressures that affect young people. So that was inclusive also of HIV, AIDS, teenage pregnancy, and also various forms of abuse, with a particular focus on kind of sexual violence. I would say that their curriculum content is fairly culturally appropriate and takes into account kind of the local context. And some of the visible results that have come from that have been, or since the introduction of the curriculum, have been an evident kind of reduction in HIV infections, as per some stats in 2018. However, I would argue then that the curriculum in Malawi is predominantly abstinence focused and isn't too comprehensive. And it also needs a lot of updating. You know, it doesn't include more kind of modern emerging issues that need to be included in LSE, you know, such as things like staying safe virtually in this ever kind of modern world that we live in. Yeah, thanks.
Maha, let me ask you.
And thank you, Masuma, for sharing the valuable information with us from Bangladesh. The scenario in Pakistan is fairly similar, where life skills are not mainstreamed into the curriculum, whether it's the public sector or the private sector. The need is very high, because approximately over 1,400 children, actually 1,489 to be exact, are recorded to have been sexually abused in the country between January to June of 2020, making it about 8 children who were subjected to abuse per day. That's a very high figure and a very alarming. Children, life skills are important for all children, but when children reach adolescence, where they are negotiating a very difficult transition from their childhood to adulthood, to the information itself, which enables them to lead their lives in a safer and healthier manner, whether it's regarding puberty, body protection, maternal health, family planning, or even basic life skills like understanding what their self-esteem is, how self-esteem can be used to improve their own sense of self-worth, how to make decisions in their lives, etc. So it's very, very important for all children, particularly adolescents.
Thank you, Maha. Masuma, let me get back to you. And if you said in the informal sector, in the non-governmental sector, this has been promoted through schools. What has been your experience? Has it been effective in fighting abuse against adolescent and children? If you have anything to share with us in this area, that will be very useful.
Thank you, Nabila. You know that Bangladesh is facing huge trouble on child marriage. Bangladesh is trying to, combat child marriage in different sector, like government is trying, NGOs are trying, but we are having like little success on it. So most of the cases in the projects, like NGO-driven projects, donor-driven projects, all the projects, they are trying to, have life skills-based education is a part of the child marriage combating projects. So it is linked with the child marriage. Yeah, and success is like, I referred the Balika and one project that RedOrange also was part of the implementation, CMH Plus. So all those projects show that life skills-based education gives a kind of empowerment, a kind of bargaining, kind of, enlightenment to the adolescent girls, so that they can, bargain with their parents, and also they can spoke out in the community that they won't go for the child marriage and how it is impacting their future life. So it is kind of giving them a, inner power, like, and also the information, what Maha also referring, the information that what will happen if child marriage happens in her life. So based on those information, life skills, which from all those information and from all those empowerment kind of component they are having from LSBE kind of training and education. So this is very important, that Bangladesh is record, like those are the basically the advocacy point that we are insisting government that should be part of the mainstream curriculum. And in the mainstream curriculum we have few information about SRHR, not elaborate, few like menstrual hygiene, menstrual management, kind of how adolescent, like adulthood, how it's coming, body growth, bodily integrity, few information. But yeah, the now, like, as government is very serious about combating child marriage, so it is important to link those things. It is there, people know about life skill based education, but it is not in the informal sector. So that's the challenge, how formal sector will adopt this and how the transition will happen. But definitely everybody is feeling, from the government policymaker to the NGO workers, practitioners, and the researcher, everybody is feeling it will give a greater notion, positive notion among the adolescent girls' life. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Maha, Masuma is saying that their formal education covers important aspects like menstrual hygiene and stuff, even though life skill based education is not part of the formal education. What is the situation in Pakistan?
So to the best of our knowledge, Nabila, given the work that the Nur Center for Research and Policy has done in this area, there is no formal program on menstrual hygiene, or for that matter, pubertal changes that boys experience in the transition to adulthood. There are scattered programs run by different organizations, but there is no core program that is mainstreamed into the curriculum. And there is a huge need, which is what our research is showing, that there are severe myths and misconceptions amongst girls, for example, regarding menstrual hygiene, regarding the process of menstruation. Many think it's not normal to menstruate. There's a very large percentage that thinks that they should not shower during menstruation. Similarly, for boys, there is myths and misconceptions that nocturnal dreams are not normal. Even if they do think that they are normal, they are not aware of how to maintain personal hygiene when they experience a nocturnal dream. And our research has also shown, because it was an interventional research, that when you actually provide this information to adolescents, there is a statistically significant change in their perception. And these myths and misconceptions can be shattered. I'll just share a quick statistic with you, for example, that after we ran our curriculum, there's a 67% improvement in our intervention group of girls in the category of those who thought that they should shower during menstruation. Prior to that, there was a very small percentage who thought it was okay to shower during menstruation. Thank you, Nabila.
Thank you. Masuma, like, you know, with this even a very sort of constrained by COVID and other situations, still a very significant research. We came up with a very sort of powerful data in support of life skill-based education. Has there been any such research in Bangladesh in support of life skill-based education?
You know, like in Balika data, we found that constraints are there, and also when we the NGO practitioner working in the field level, we know the constraints are there, because you know Bangladesh is a conservative Muslim country, and few term and connotation is not even you can pronounce in the community in front of the adults. Like say for example, menstruation, you can't share it, you can't even show any sign symptom in front of your male members of the family. So for adolescent girls, it is very, situation that she needs to, manage, and there's a constant pressure. And it's in the family level and in the community level also, life skills based education is not at all accepted in many cases, because it shows that the adolescent girls are empowered and they are not supposed to be, and this is not showing the respect to that. This is something that adolescent girls are showing disrespect to the adults, because they are like, say for example, they're protesting about child marriage, they are protesting about early pregnancy, kind of those things. So there is a constraint there, and research and our data also shows that people are not accepting in that way. But in that case, the innovative approach that the NGOs working in Bangladesh, and also in some cases government also taking the initiative of, incorporating religious leaders, community leaders, and community elites. Also the female, member of the parliament, female union parishad chairman, kind of those type of elite person who an influential, who can can change the community perception, especially the religious leader, the imams. They are very, very powerful stakeholder, and the NGOs and the government is like working to sensitize them first so that they can sensitize the community. So in such way, like constraints are, not removing, but we are trying to manage the constraints against, like when LSB is part of any part of the project. Yeah. Thanks, Nabila.
Okay, thank you. Maha, same question to you. Have you experienced any community resistance during your, when you were implementing life skill-based education, imparting education in schools? Because my understanding is that you went to government schools, which was probably this research is unique in that context, because nobody has done this experiment in government schools before you. So was there resistance from the community? How was your experience?
Thank you, Nabila. I think the reason we were able to successfully lead this intervention in government schools was because A, we took the government into confidence. We actually spent several months lobbying with the government, helping them understand, then obtaining the requisite permission from the relevant government departments to operate in these government schools. Then we led a whole campaign with the head teachers and the class teachers in these schools to sensitize them. And then before we launched the intervention, we actually had sensitization sessions with the parents. And when we actually went to the parents were very clear. They said, these are important life skills. These are things our children need to know about. Often we are hesitant to talk to our children about these things, or we don't have the correct information to share with our children. So it's very valuable that you are giving these tips to our children. So please proceed. And I think because we were able to couch our intervention in a broader public health kind of intervention and put it under the umbrella of life skills, that really helped counter any potential backlash. That said, we did have an issue in because it was a control and a treatment group. It was a scientific experimental design in terms of the intervention. One of our control schools for girls said that the head teacher there said, we don't agree with the kind of information that you are disseminating to our girls. So we would suggest that you leave. We tried very hard to campaign with her, but then we realized that we were going to lose very valuable time and our intervention was going to be delayed. So we decided to approach another school for our control group. So yes, there were ups and downs, but I think sensitization of community members, particularly the parents, and helping them understand how this information will help their children in turn is very important. And that's a suggestion that came from our steering committee, and it has worked in other contexts in Pakistan as well.
Thank you. Masuma, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand, because when I look at the curriculum, and I've had the opportunity of looking at what you are trying to teach adolescent and young people, and it is all about their body protection, knowing about their own body. I don't understand the resistance for it. To me, as a mother, as a person with little bit common sense, it makes perfect sense to teach it to our children in schools. But then when we go out, there is resistance from the community, there's resistance from the government, there's resistance from our religious leaders as well. Why is there this resistance? What is the controversial part in life skill-based education that gets them so worried?
My point is, yeah, it is something cultural. I think the adolescent girls and adolescent boys, they are supposed to be very silent, very submissive. That the culture demands, like parents and the community people, they feel like that, or they think that the adolescent in the age of adolescent, nobody can protest, nobody can bargain, nobody can give the logic. This is something against culture and norm, and this is sometimes compared with the showing disrespect to the elderly. That sometimes comes as a restriction from there. And another thing is, when a girl wants to know about bodily integrity, how her body is growing up, what she should do, what dress she should wear, how she should behave bodily, those things are very, silent kind of matter. So when a girl got LSBE and she needs to know, curiosity, happens there. She needs to know that is not like accepted by the mother, or mother thinks that why she's asking that much things. I never asked those type of question in my childhood, kind of those things, and those interests may not always accepted from the family and from the community, but definitely that got an aspect on, where do they live, in urban or rural, what type of family, what education their parents have. Those got important, those are the important variables that works against those. But when those type of lessons, like what LSB is giving, those type of LSB kind of lesson, similar type of lesson is given by the teachers. or the religious teachers, or from they are getting from the schools, they feel like then it is rather accepted by the parents, but not from like like sporadically when they are getting, like they say for example they got a leaflet from an NGO worker, they're thinking why they are giving to my daughter. What is the root cause behind this? Why they want my daughter should know all these things? So there is kind of sensational issues, but I believe, and in my experience when I work with the field level with the mothers and with the mother-in-laws also, so I found that if you let them understand very logically, they understand. But sensitization or make them sensitized in a different way is important before going to the adolescent. So adolescents' parents and their community is very important in that case to be sensitized. Yeah. Thank you, Nabila.
Thank you. Maha, you can continue. Same question. I'd like to hear the Pakistan perspective now.
I just want to take up from where Masuma left off, Nabila. She said it comes back to sensitization of the community. One lesson that was very important for us, like I said, we sensitized the parents before we went in. The way we sensitize the parents is that we set up health camps in the school. Because our intervention of life skills curriculum was being led by healthcare providers as well as school teachers. So we brought in healthcare providers from our partner organization, Fatma Memorial Hospital, which is based in Lahore, Pakistan. It's already a credible name, particularly in the sectors of maternal and child health. We brought in nurses, we brought in doctors to talk to the parents about their own basic health. And when they realized that a credible organization was behind this curriculum, it helped them understand that whatever information we will be giving will hopefully be useful for the children. So I just wanted to connect that with what Nabila was saying. Coming back to your question, I would agree with pretty much whatever Nabila has said, sorry, what Masuma has said, with the addition that in my experience, I think what happens is parents as well as community members, particularly male gatekeepers, feel that if too much information is given to females and even to male adolescents, they will stand up and counter long-standing myths and misconceptions as well as cultural taboos. Nobody wants to fight that battle. Nobody wants to have their children stand up and question, okay, I have the right to make my own decisions. Who are you to tell me that you will be making my life decision regarding my career or my education or marriage or whatever? I am a partner in the decision with you. This is just a small example. So I think it's just the fear. It's the same argument that was made from a feudal perspective against educating peasant populations. They felt that if they were empowered with education, they would stand up for their rights. So I feel that that's the same thing with empowering adolescents with information, that they will then start to challenge those in the corridors of power.
That
and may I add one thing? May I add one thing with Maha?
Please go ahead.
Maha is correctly said that the male gatekeepers, they are somehow never want that even their family members, their daughters, their community members, women, girls are like, they don't want to see them empowered. And there is I found, like in my personal life, in my personal, grown up stage also, I found that there is a silent war always. Like boys, men, they feel like that girls supposed to be, more submissive, less, knowledgeable, less, equipped to make the culture challenge, kind of those things. They are in every society. Every society means like South Asia, it is common. So it is similar in Pakistan, India, and I believe in other countries like India and others also. So that's a general cultural connotation that we are facing all the time. So break those kind of things is important, and it is the first step to break all those things and to make LSB popular across the community. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we need to break the myth that parents can control their children. What parents perceive as control is deception. And I think life skill-based education and proper education equips children with the courage to be honest, and it equips children to protect themselves, to safeguard their rights and make the right decisions. This is interesting. Both of you are saying that we are worried to rock the boat. We are happy the way our cultural life is going on. We are happy the way our children show us respect and we control their lives in one way or the other. And we don't want to change that, which is very unfortunate, because I would request you to say a little bit about the protection, the security aspect. How insecure a child is, especially in the current circumstances where both parents are out of the house. The economic needs are such that we don't have previous setup. We don't have where the mother or the grandmother, we don't have joint family systems anymore. Things are changing, whether we like it or we don't. So, Maha, I'll start with you. How dangerous it is in the modern times if we don't equip our children with proper information? How dangerous can it be for their own safety?
Yes, thank you, Nabila. I think with the joint family structure starting to disintegrate in much of South Asia, with women stepping out of the home and dual career households becoming more common, support from grandmothers and other elderly family members is becoming less as compared to before. So children are becoming more vulnerable. There are challenges posed by social media, access to too much information, but not necessarily the right kind of information. Access to whatever they want through the internet, because smartphone penetration in Pakistan is now very high. I'm sure Bangladesh is similar. A household may not have be able to afford 3 meals a day, but they will have a smartphone at their disposal. So what are the children accessing? Who is controlling access to information? That's very, very important. And then children are subject to peer pressure. Our study shows that most children in our intervention population were not aware that peer pressure can be both positive as well as negative. So nobody tells them that peer pressure can be negative. They can fall victim to abuse, to addiction, to all kinds of other problems that will shape their future lives in not the most positive manner. They will be more vulnerable to negative influences. So with that in mind, it's very, very important that they are equipped with the right kind of life skills to be able to negotiate their transition to adulthood in the absence of the family support that used to previously be available in most South Asian cultures. Over to Masuma, I think. Unless, Nabila, you have something else for me.
No, absolutely, Masuma. I like your take on this. World is changing. Life is changing, whether we like it or we don't. What we are doing is resisting to sort of arm our children with all the necessary equipment they can go out and face the world. Are you experiencing the same in Bangladesh? And also, what will you say to the parents who think life skill based education is probably going to have a rebellion? They'll have a rebellion at their hand. Will it be a rebellion, or their children will be safer? What do you have to say?
Thank you, Nabila. Thank you, Maha. I would echo with Maha. It's similar in Bangladesh also. But I would like to share very interesting data. Like when we are having any research in Bangladesh on child marriage, we found always security is one of the significant factors. So it is same in everywhere, like in urban setting, in rural setting, everywhere. And interestingly, in urban slums, Dhaka is a big city, like in population wise, and half of the population Dhaka is living in slums. And in urban slums, also child marriage is very high. Whether in the non-slum settings in Dhaka, child marriage is low. But in the slum settings, it is high. And most of the cases, the parents in the community said they feel insecure when they go for work, that the adolescent girls will stay at home alone. So it is always the security is the issue for the child marriage. And how LSBE can help the parents. So definitely LSBE can help to the parents So if say for example in urban settings, both parents are working in the low income area and the adolescent 2-3 girls at home, like 2 sisters at home, if they know basic life skills, they can at least make themselves secure in very odd situation, and they can also seek help from the community or also police or also like the organization who can help them. So it happens. So it found that LSB is much more important for the girls who are living in the urban slums. And then because rural setting now, yet there are extended families are there, but in the urban setting it is not possible, like it's not found. So it's very important, and security itself comes from the sense of security is like if you ask it might be similar like Pakistan. If you ask them generally, the women and girls in Bangladesh, that how they feel secure and they are like living. It is a controversial question, and they are not. Nobody, even myself, is not feeling secure all the time. Like at the dark time, when I'm coming back late from the office, even in the crowd Dhaka city, it is something there. So it is very important for everybody, for the adolescent girls, even for her mother also, to know about LSB and to know basic application of LSB. It is important, and that's how we can, I understand that we cannot avoid gang rape maybe through LSB, but we can avoid abuse, like a degree of abuse we can avoid through LSB if the girl is like, understand and equipped to, make herself danger free. And in some cases, like which places she should visit, which places she should not visit, in which time she should visit, and what protection, what basic protection sense she should know, and be careful. All those things will come from the LSB, right? So this is very important in Bangladesh, where we are like having huge crowd of adolescent girls and boys here in the country due to the demographic change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Over to you, Nabila.
Thank you. I think it's the same with Pakistan. We have a large population of young people under 30 years, 60 plus are under 30. My next question to you, Maha, is that we have gender inequality, and that is also ingrained in our system, in our culture. Life skill based education, is it also touching upon those, and how will that help in development of Pakistan, pulling us out of poverty, pulling us out of the situation we find ourselves in? Can it be helpful?
I think for sure, Nabila, life skills is for everybody. It's for girls and for boys. It's particularly important for girls because, like Masuma said earlier, they're traditionally taught to be submissive and to be silent and not to voice their opinions. So it equips them with a sense of assertiveness, which is what our research is also corroborating, that the impact on girls seems to have been higher than that on boys, because their increase in self-confidence, increase in assertiveness, increase in information sharing with trusted elders is there, which was previously absent because culturally they are taught to just keep quiet. Their value in the household is considered much lower. The way the life skills curriculum addresses the gender component, is that it talks about self-esteem, it talks about decision making, it talks about equal sharing of household responsibilities when a couple gets married. It talks about traditional gender roles versus non-traditional gender roles. For example, is it okay for a boy to help the mother with cooking? Is it okay for a girl to go out and get groceries? Because traditionally, these roles are meant for boys and girls respectively. So I think in its own way, it will also serve to perhaps lead to more balanced gender roles in society, which can then contribute to a country's development for sure.
Thank you. Masuma, would you add something to this?
Yes, yes. It's the same that how Maha said. Like in Bangladesh also, women are, like garments industry one is the one of the biggest industry where the, 80% of the garments workers are girls. And they are like adolescent, and also age, highest limit of age is like 22, 23. So when they started working, officially 18, but before that, so all the contribution of the women and the adolescent girls in the society is something that country should value, and the sense of security and sense of empowerment and sense of dignity that the girls should have, women should have, it is unfortunately missing from the society. So without giving the dignified feeling to the half of the population, how the country will progress? That's the main question. So that should be there, definitely. Thank you.
Hannah, I would like to ask you, how can life skill-based education remove gender inequalities? Because that's the toughest part that I keep dealing with and keep trying to understand. So it will be good if you can explain that a little bit to our audience.
So, I mean, arguably by challenging harmful social norms, particularly around traditional roles of women in society, through life skills education, which is a kind of prominent focus for most programs. You're empowering girls and women to challenge the status quo that they currently are a part of, or their parents, their mothers, their grandmothers have been a part of. And you're also educating boys and men away from those patriarchal traditional norms. And I think kind of on that as well, educating young people together. So ensuring that boys are included in conversations on menstruation, for example, that helps to normalize those conversations, and for each group to accept puberty and the changes that come with that as normal. We're almost kind of handing them a set of social expectations to hold in common. And I just think that, the more students that are aware of what their peers have been taught, about how to treat others, the more they're able to hold each other accountable. I think through LSE, you're equipping young people with not only knowledge and skills, but also confidence to make informed decisions. You're offering them informed choice to make informed decisions when it comes to their own sexual and reproductive health and rights. And you're also teaching them to respect the decisions made by those around them. And I would just kind of say finally as well, full integration of kind of a life skills education program can contribute towards, a reduction in, things like teenage pregnancy, gender-based violence, and increase that kind of level of girls remaining in school, which is one of the kind of main causes of that kind of that gap. We want to stop widening the current gender gap in education.
My last question to you is that what impact can life skill-based education have on the health of adolescent? And I would like you to speak from the global perspective. If you have any statistics to share with us, how has life skill-based education impacted the lives of adolescent and young people?
Life skills-based education provides and equips adolescents with incredibly vital information that they require to become empowered to make informed decisions about relationships, about sexuality, about their own identity. But it also equips them with the power to say no. And I think the focus on consent, can and needs to start as early as possible, whether that's in, playground conversations with young children, learning that they don't have to say yes to play a game. They don't have to say yes to hug an aunt that they never really see and is practically a stranger to them. I think teaching that level of consent so early on is incredibly important, and it teaches them to recognize harmful situations as a result of that. I think, it increases young people's knowledge. It allows you the space and the kind of knowledge to ask questions. And, as a result, LSE can reduce the rate of, sexual exploitation, sexual violence, allows you to recognize that these situations aren't okay, as well as contributing towards a decrease in, STIs, STDs, HIV transmission. It not only provides children and young people with education on human rights, gender equality, emphasizing values such as respect, such as inclusion, such as non-discrimination, responsibility, and kind of equality and empathy. If nothing else, your children are going to grow up to be more respectful, more inclusive, less discriminative, and I think that's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to another huge challenge. Even when all the our campaign is successful and life skill based is included in mainstream curriculum, we are still left with a challenge, and that challenge is out of school children. How do you reach out to out of school children with this information that is so crucial, as your research is showing? Maha, I'll take your comment first.
I think one of the approaches one could use, Nabila, is to create peer educators within communities. They could be children who have had access to a life skills based education curriculum who could then be available as agents of change within their communities. Secondly, you could use teachers who are trained to teach the LSBE curriculum in schools as community representatives who out of school children could be told that these people are available, and if you would like access to this information, they are available. Third method could be to work with existing CBOs, community-based organizations who are already operational in many communities, whether formal or informal, take them in the loop and sensitize them to the importance of the LSB curriculum. And I know that LSB curricula exists for out-of-school children as well. Train representatives within local CBOs, and if they're interested, they can then take this up and work with out-of-school children.
Thank you. Masuma, have you had an experience with any project which tries to reach out to out-of-school children with life skill-based education?
Yes. It's similar what Maha said. Like, yes, few projects in Bangladesh, especially BRAC is the running big projects to reach the out-of-school students here in Bangladesh. Out of school, officially we have 100% enrollment in the primary level, but there is a huge jump of dropout when girls go for 7th grade to 8th grade, 8th grade to 9th grade. So it is huge. If you show the curve, so huge dropout for the girls in that period of time. That means in that period of time, girls are like the victim of the child marriage, or the family think they should stop their education so that they can married of them, like arrange marriage for them in that case. So peer educator Maha mentioned is very important, and in one cases, in one project that RedOrange was also part of this, that project covered the married adolescent and unmarried adolescent both. So for the married adolescents, a huge number of married adolescents there in the community, and they need the education as well. So we touched upon their in-laws family members, like mother-in-law or sister-in-law, who are influential in the mother-in-law's in-laws family. So they become the agent. So we worked with them. So they understand the empowerment needed and why the LSBE adolescent girl who just came to the family. So those worked. And also I would say the policymakers and the government people who can change the, significant, who can offer significant change, they're already sensitized. They know life skills is very important, but maybe there is something we need to do, and we need to give a push that how they will, incorporate those things, because already our South Asian curriculum, existing curriculum is very heavy. So how we can create a room to, incorporate like you can cut off few things, like one very old history kind of thing. I understand that history is important, but so unimportant thing are like made the curriculum heavy, rather than we can incorporate practical things like life skills. That type of advocacy is already ongoing, and that should have significance, when we are doing advocacy with the policymakers and the government people.
Thank- Yeah, thank you. I didn't actually think about it before that we are giving children something more to do and read and write. So how will they react to it? Anyway, our time is running out. What I would like say, in Pakistan, Supreme Court has also ordered that life skill based education should be part of the curriculum. There are campaigns. Based on your research, what are the few tips that you can give them to make it a success in the schools? Because I hear you've gathered a lot of information and a lot of knowledge as to what works and what doesn't work.
Thank you, Nabila. Yes, it's I think the need for it is now understood by those in the corridors of power, and that's the reason the Supreme Court has also passed its judgment. And we hope that it's only a matter of time before it's mainstreamed into the curriculum. The lessons are already there in terms of confidence, more children becoming more assertive, then knowing how to negotiate their transition to adulthood, whether it's through body protection, understanding puberty, understanding the fallout of gender discrimination. All of this is part of a life skills based education curriculum, and I think it's high time that the government now takes this up and mandates it not only into the government schools curriculum, but also makes it mandatory for all private schools in Pakistan. Because particularly as far as body protection, abuse, or child marriage, these issues are concerned, they affect everybody, regardless of their economic background, whether they go to a private school or a public school. So the need is there, and I hope that the government will be able to do it if they can make it a part of their teacher training program, to train teachers on how to teach a life skills based curriculum. Like Masuma said, our curricula traditionally in South Asia is very, very academically very heavy. See what parts of the curriculum can be reduced to make room for life skills based education curriculum, because it puts an extra toll on the teachers to teach it. So these are some of the practical constraints. And then to ensure that it fits in with the objectives of the national curriculum, which it will, because if you want to empower your adolescents who are tomorrow's leaders, you have to give them the skills to do it now in schools, not later.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going through the recommendations that were based on key findings. You over here also, you said that interactive methodology, role plays, videos, those are the ones that resonate with the children. You can have, should be also, there should be some kind of interaction with them, because that helps with the confidence of children. A lot of recommendations here, and we have links attached to these sessions. You can go through the whole research study. You can read the outcome, the numbers, the statistics, and if that is not convincing, I think then we need to have another session with you somehow to find out what is it that you still need to know. We have been
Nabila, may
working.
I add something? Sorry.
Sure,
The point
sure.
that you made about interactive methodology and videos, the
Yes.
government may come back and say that, look, we don't have the resources to run videos for children in schools. We are already resource constrained schools. Like I said, smartphone penetration is very high. For example,
Yes.
there's a great resource for children that addresses a lot of life skills. It's called Kaid Se Baatein. It's a series of videos made by a setup by Bakra Studios in Pakistan. And it brings Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah to life. Many of the life skill lessons that we are trying to teach our children are lessons from the Qaid himself. So if all the teachers could do is just share that, okay, go home and watch episode XYZ, episode 2 of Kaid Se Baatein, which talks about a girl shattering a myth that girls can't play cricket, for example. That's a video that really resonated with our female population. And these are lessons that have stayed with children. Videos have been extremely impactful because what they have retained from the video, they have then been able to tell us that, okay, this is a lesson that we learned from the video. Just a quick anecdote that I remembered when you asked the gender question, that I just remember now, is that one of our female students said that every day when she used to go home, she rides a bike and she would be taunted by bystanders, particularly boys from a particular locality in that area, and she complained to she got the confidence from this course to complain to the security guard, who then admonished these boys and they stopped teasing her. So these are just little lessons, I think, that are passed on, and these children who have been part of this curriculum, our healthcare providers, our teachers will continuously be agents of change in the community, and they can even reach out to school children as well as other children who may not have access to the full curriculum itself. Sorry if I exceeded my time. Back
no, it's perfectly fine. I'm glad you added this. And Masuma, I'll also ask you if you need to add anything, if I forgot to ask you something.
Yes. Listening Maha, I felt that capturing the best practices is very important. What is happening where that should disseminate to the adolescent girls. And about the interactive methodologies like methods, we also found that the videos is is very, and animations is very interactive, and adolescent girls capture those things very quickly, other than giving them a lecture or let them understand through theoretically rather than practically. Those ways are very, very helpful.
Thank you very much. And these videos are a one-time investment. Once they are made, we can actually use mass media to spread the message and reach out to everyone, because everyone watches television. Everyone has a mobile phone. So life has become easier in that sense. I think we have, that's all we have time for. But with all these series, these episodes, we have tried to explore various aspects of life skill-based education's impact on the lives of adolescent and young people. And I think there is no argument there. It impacts them positively. It is not just impactful, it's necessary. It's necessary for us to give them life skill-based education so our children have a better chance to explore their full potential, feel safer, feel confident. What parents, what leaders would not want that? With that, I thank all my panelists today. Thank you very much for taking time out. It was a pleasure talking to all.